Week 8, Advanced Anatomy and Physiology. Folks, thank you for all of your work. Depending upon when you're watching this, before you start the Week 8 stuff, please make sure that you review your exams. They should be available sometime on Monday. As always, I try to get grades up fast. And before you dive into the new material, please make sure you close the loop on the old material. You'll need that stuff most immediately on the final exam. The finals are comprehensive, but you'll also need that stuff in program and beyond. So if you ever miss any of that stuff, it's not the end of the world, but you have to learn from it. And then also, please continue to tweak the study strategy. I know that a lot of you have been at this for a couple of semesters and you have things dialed in to what works for you, but there's always little adjustments that can be made for preparation. Also, if there are simulations on any given week, please make sure you complete the simulations. A number of you are simply missing and not doing the simulations, and that ends up costing you in the end because those assessments are payable on the lab, either lab quizzes or the lab exams. So those things are critical to do. All right, as we turn our attention to week 8, continue with some brain stuff. This week is relatively straightforward for lecture. We'll talk about the meninges, which are the protective layers around the brain, and cerebrospinal fluid, which is the fluid that surrounds your brain and spinal cord and fills your brain and spinal cord in a couple of key structures. So that's the lecture content, meninges and CSF. For the lab, we'll continue to look at some anatomical stuff. We'll do APR images of blood vessels, and we'll focus on the blood vessels essentially from the waist up. We know a little bit about cerebral circulation. We remember the blood vessels that are sort of associated with the aorta, a little bit more proximally, but this week we'll examine vessels of the chest and the arms. And this is where some of your Atlas A knowledge will come back from general anatomy and physiology, just terms like brachial and axillary and antebrachial. Some of those things that we learned way back in the day will be payable now and forever moving forward. So for lecture, meninges and cerebrospinal fluid, and for lab, we'll do some blood vessels. Please make sure that you're checking in. Please check your emails on a regular basis. At the end of this week, we've got 2 quizzes. One 10-question over cerebrospinal fluid and meninges for lecture, a 1 10-question for lab over the vessels of sort of the chest and the upper part of the torso. Good luck, folks. Thank you for all the work. Have a safe week.